Hey guys, this is a 2007 Silverado 1500 Classic two-wheel drive that's owned by my son, and he's been driving around with a intermittent P0332 check engine light. So he did some research, and there's a couple of good videos out there on YouTube about it. So I figured I'd offer a third one to kind of return the favor back to YouTube. So he picked up a couple of the NOx sensors, which is the most common cause for the Chevrolet LS engines and the P0332 air check engine light. But I he did not pick up a harness simply because the one store that he went to did not have one. So I checked online, found a couple of Dormans at the corner auto parts stores, and just not a big fan of Dorman. I thought about going to the General Motors dealer and grabbing one, but it was just too late in the day to grab one of those. So I thought about Napa, and always remember their parts are good, so I picked up a Napa. And they had it in stock for right around $40 with tax. This job is not bad at all. I was pleasantly surprised that pulling the intake manifold off is about it doesn't require any heavy tooling, 5/16 or an 8mm universal socket with a long 1/4-inch drive extension and a ratchet is enough to take all 10 bolts loose for the intake manifold. A little screwdriver to take the fuel line clip off. And one thing you will need is the little nylon tool. You can rent that at one of the corner auto parts stores, or buy the nylon ones like I have, pretty cheap. But you will need that. That's the only special tool you'll need to do this job. But you do have to take the connectors off, the throttle valve, the vent valve for the fuel tank. You have to take the connector off the back for the manifold pressure switch in the back. Actually, underneath the manifold, there's a connector for the NOx sensors that you have to disconnect and actually take it off the clip. Then you just kind of move the harness out of the way. There's a retaining bolt, or I'm sorry, a stud that sticks up out of the plenum, out of the intake manifold that has a 10mm nut you just take off. And move the harness out of the way and take two water hoses off the throttle valve, kind of hidden underneath. A vacuum hose in the back for the brake booster, and then just lift it out of there. And if you can kind of see how easily I'm holding that intake manifold, the doggone thing can't weigh 6 pounds. It's amazing. It's just a big chunk of plastic. It's massive in size, but it just doesn't weigh anything at all. And it exposes the problem area. The two NOx sensors that are located in the plenum cover monitor for detonation.
Can't drink it from a
and
can.
the ECM adjusts accordingly.
Yeah.
Say cheese.
There's my daughter actually bringing me a cold beer.
Thank you.
It was real humid and hot, and I had to put a rag on my head just to keep the sweat from dripping down my nose. But anyway, this is the problem area. You got, water and leaves and dirt and bugs and pine straw, all kind of conglomerate and live underneath the intake manifold. So anything that you can do to maybe seal that area would be great, but it does get hot, so it can't be anything like a low temperature glues. But I used DC-4, a dielectric paste. Now, one thing I found is the connectors for the NOx sensors are oval shaped, and so by squeezing them round, they come off very easily. So again, make the oval shaped connector on the knock sensor round, and it just comes right off. Use a pair of needle nose pliers for that.
I think I need to get you that fan with the squirter.
So the water and the corrosion on the top of the knock sensors is where the problem is, and the microphones fail to send the signal to the ECM. Here's my wonderful camera work here. And I used a 7/8 3/8 drive socket to take the knock sensors in and out. They're not in there very tight at all. I would say, if I was to guess, I think probably 18 foot-pounds. It's the very most. But as you can see, they're a disaster. And the harness was corroded, the bare wire, the whole 9 yards. So.
What are you doing?
There's the intake manifold. I reused the intake gaskets because they were soft, and I just didn't see any problems. But so I did reuse the intake manifold gaskets, which is rare for me. But take a vacuum to the intake manifold. Don't just blow it with air, but take a vacuum to it first, and make sure with those open ports you don't allow anything to get in there. So I bought the harness from Napa. As you can see, the local one here in Atlanta had one in stock. And then that grommet right there is where I use the dielectric paste on, and I use the dielectric paste on that connector as well. In the aircraft business, we call it DC-4. It's a non-conductive lubricant. Works great. And unfortunately, I don't show the installation of the new AC Delco knock sensors, but it's nothing complicated, I assure you. Just put these sensors in there, tighten them down. The connectors on the sensors. Push the grommets down on the plenum cover. Route the wires to the back of the engine, and you're done. Stick the intake manifold on.
Pretty cheap.
Run all 8 of the, all 10 of the bolts down.
I think he does it for like $70. Changes the coolant.
Connect everything back up. The only problem I had was that stupid vacuum line getting the spring clip off. It's kind of hidden back there, but going on obviously was no big deal. Oh, I will say that we lost a little bit of water on the 2 hoses on the bottom of the throttle valve. I didn't realize it was peeing it out while I was playing with the intake manifold in the garage, but when I went back to it, I saw it was leaking, so I stuck a bolt in there so I could clean up the plenum area with a vacuum and blow everything out real nice. But I did lose a little coolant. I'm guessing I lost probably, if I would have known it was peeing out like that, I probably wouldn't have lost any, but I guess I lost about 2 cups.
Yeah, they're using this as the fill liner.
Okay, so you're good. These new engines are amazing. You can never do something like this in as quick of time and reliably and as efficiently as the new vehicles do it. And they just, they doggone things will go 300,000 miles for the most part. And you have to do little things to them, but really nothing serious. Computers, plastic. Who would have thought? Perfect fuel mixture all the time.
I need to add some of that.
I don't have any of the stuff for it.
I meant to buy some when I was there, but I just need
I
something.
grew up in the carburetor days, and they
Maybe
just
mad. I went by this guy.
we were always messing with
landscape
the
on side
carburetors on
road,
these things. They just never ran right.
No, I haven't.
That's a great deal.
You think so?
Oh, it is.
How much is it?
Well, that's about it, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you like my video, and I sure appreciate you watching. Good luck to you.